watching Businessworld Live. I'm Danie, Laurel.
And I'm Delos Santos. Here are today's top stories. Citing a recovery in consumption, the World Bank raises its growth forecast for the Philippines.
The peso falls yet another time to an all-time low. The continued depreciation of the peso against the dollar sends local stocks to a near two-year low.
NEDA Secretary Arsenio Balisacan is confident that the country will hit its growth target this year despite the damage caused by Typhoon Karding.
And the Tourism Department confirms that it plans to change the country's tourism slogan. We begin our broadcast with the World Bank upgrading its growth forecast for the domestic economy this year. That's despite a pessimistic global outlook. Now, the lender raised its GDP projection for the Philippines to 6.5% from the 5.7% forecast it penciled back in April. This is at the lower end of the government's 6.5% to 7.5% goal this year. Now, the World Bank says the forecast upgrade is due to the rebound of private consumption as more and more businesses have reopened after the pandemic-related lockdowns. The lender also upgraded its growth forecast for 2023 to 5.8% from 5.6% previously. However, this is below the government's 6.5% to 8% GDP assumption for next year.
The losing streak continues for the peso as it dips to a new all-time low against the dollar for the 11th time this year. The local currency closed at 58.99 against the greenback on Tuesday, September 27. That's 49 centavos weaker than its September 23 close. Analysts attribute the further depreciation of the peso to the Federal Reserve's aggressive interest rate hikes.
Kaya yan tuloy-tuloy kasi yung US Central Bank or the US Fed has signaled that they need to triumph against inflation. So, ang nangyayari, pag ang isang country nagtataas ng interest rate, lalong nagkakaroon ng attraction sa mga investor lumipat sa dollar. So, kaya lalong lumalakas yung dollar, humihina yung peso.
Now, prior to the closing of the foreign exchange yesterday, Malacanang said President Bongbong Marcos has been closely monitoring the peso's movement. Meanwhile, on the ground, money changers report a slowdown in their business as of late.
Tumataas kasi yung dollar ngayon, sir. Minsan yung mga iba, inaano nila baka daw tumaas pa gano'n. Minsan yung nagpapalit naman yung iba. Konti-konti lang eh.
On the back of the continued depreciation of the peso, local stocks flirted with the bear market yesterday, September 27th. This as foreigners dumped equities. The PSE index tumbled to its lowest since October 19, 2020. The index fell by more than 3.8% to close at the 6,000 level. Prepare to say goodbye to It's More Fun in the Philippines, as the Tourism Department is now eyeing a new slogan for Philippine tourism. In a confirmation hearing, the DOT says they want to change the national tourism slogan into something that best reflects Filipino qualities. But Senator Nancy Binay warns that the agency must be absolutely sure of its new branding so that it doesn't confuse the international market.
Isa yan dun sa reklamo na we keep on changing our slogans. So yung potential market natin abroad, yung parang we were not, hindi sustainable. Tayo lang ata yung country na every 6 years, we try to change our slogan. And with your limited budget, we should also consider the cost.
Meanwhile, Tourism Secretary Cristina Frasco says the number of international tourist arrivals is likely to breach their 1.7 million target this year. Frasco notes that as of this month, the tourist arrivals have already reached 1.5 million. Before the year ends, the agency is looking to set up a tourist assistance center and around 10 tourist rest areas in different parts of the country.
These tourist rest areas will provide clean and decent restrooms, a place for our tourists to rest, as well as a pasalubong center that will provide an avenue for our local artists and artisans to sell their goods. This will be done in partnership with the TIAZA as well as our local government units. And for the information of our chairman, the first place we're breaking ground on is actually in Manolo Fortich, Bukidnon.
Now, the National Economic and Development Authority believes the country's target growth for 2022 is still within reach despite the onslaught of Typhoon Karding. In a tweet, Socio-Economic Planning Secretary Arsenio Balisacan says it is fortunate that the latest typhoon was not as powerful as Typhoons Ondoy, Ulysses, and Yolanda. Still, Karding left considerable damage but not enough to set the country so far back that it cannot meet the GDP growth target of 6.5% to 7.5%. In the government's latest report, damage to agriculture left by Typhoon Karding amounted to 1.29 billion pesos. The assessment covers 6 regions from the Cordillera Administrative Region to as far as the Bicol region. Data also shows that the typhoon affected the livelihoods of over 85,000 farmers and fishermen, with up to 72,000 metric tons in production loss left in its wake. Affected commodities include rice, corn, high-value crops, livestock and poultry, as well as fisheries.
The Energy Department is now preparing the service contract covering the resumption of exploration at Recto Bank. This in a bid to make up for the impending loss of the nearly depleted Malampaya gas field, which accounts for 20% of the country's total power requirement. The Recto Bank, also known as the Reed Bank, is located within the Philippines' exclusive economic zone northwest of Palawan in waters disputed with China. The DOE says they are also looking to discover other indigenous power sources to address a looming energy crisis.
A study finds that the recovery of vehicle sales in the Philippines may be hampered should the government reimpose taxes on pickup trucks. Fitch Solutions says it is expecting a double-digit growth for local automobile industry. However, the prospect of reintroducing excise taxes on pickup trucks have diminished strong outlook for the local vehicle sales. Now, the House Committee approved in August the 4th package of the Comprehensive Tax Reform Program, which includes lifting the excise tax exemption for pickup trucks. Now, while the bill is still pending approval, Fitch Solutions sees stronger demand for pickup trucks as the deadline for its tax exemption nears.
Let's pause for a quick break, but coming right up after that. Top global thought and industry leaders will gather at the hybrid DigiCon 2022 event that's slated for next month.
Don't go away. Business World Live returns after this short break.
And you're still watching Business World Live here on One News. I'm Delos Santos.
And I'm Danie, Laurel.
Now, it's no longer a question of if, but when will enterprises make that shift to digital. If you're not yet convinced, then PLDT's Philippine Digital Convention 2022 might be worth checking. All roads lead to the Marriott Grand Hotel for the hybrid Digicon 2022 with the theme Boundless. The conference will gather top global thought leaders to help share the latest digital innovations and tools to help empower businesses. Now, to tell us more on what to expect, we have Jojo Gendrano, Senior Vice President and Head of PLDT and Smart Enterprise Business Group. Jojo, thank you for joining us today. Again, not the best of environments here for businesses. I mean, after the pandemic, we now have a string of economic challenges. What role does PLDT Enterprise play in supporting businesses amid these tough times?
Yes, and I think, first of all, a very pleasant good morning, Jester and Danie. Thank you for having us here. It's an honor to be here. I think it's about digital transformation. I think digital transformation is a key requirement for business to thrive. And if I may just define it, just to share it, I think a good way to describe it is digital transformation is the reimagining of businesses in the digital age.
Okay.
Right? It's where technology plays a key role in the automation of processes, improving experiences for both employees and customers alike, improving business processes. It leads to competitive differentiation, it leads to business agility, and they say digital transformation is the best defense against disruption. And we know disruption can affect any type of business, right? Be it a small, large, be it PLDT, the PLDT group ourselves. So we're always in this constant process of transformation. And we think our role here is, another very important part of it is culture plays a key role.
Okay.
So it's not just adopting technology, but you have to embrace the need to change, the need to transform, nurturing that culture within within various organizations to make that transformation happen. And our role there is that we view that it's so important that we've actually made it our mission. So our mission within PLDT Enterprises, we really wanted to be the trusted partner of Philippine enterprises for digital transformation. We believe it's so important that we're investing a lot of a lot of time, resources, efforts in people, in practices, so that we can build trust with our customers, so that we can serve them better and help them transform.
It's very interesting though. So from being a service provider of networks, you're now also helping people change their business strategy and business models. But you have basically formed a consulting arm in terms of digitalization strategy. Now, this is something that companies have been doing even before the pandemic, right?
Yes.
But the pandemic accelerated this shift. Where
Very
are
much
we
so.
now in the Philippines in terms of what you mentioned? This is a process, this is a journey.
Yes.
Nasaan tayo?
I think it's a process, it's a continuing journey. I think what's important is the willingness to change, the willingness to make it happen. There's various stages of maturity of businesses in the Philippines of where they are in their digital transformation, but it will continue, right? And businesses will continue to be disrupted. So it's that state of being agile to hit all of these transformations is important. If I may make an example,
Go ahead.
if that's okay, one of my favorite brands is for so long I can't even remember how far back would used to order cakes from this brand.
Okay.
Right? So this every special occasion we would call in, text, we'd go on a Saturday or a Sunday morning, fall in line, wait for the cake, sometimes long, sometimes short, pray that the letterings are correct. If it's not, you wait again, then you pay. But the cake is so good that we go back over and over again. I just think, for this business, if they were able to get more scale, the potential for that business to really grow. And the other, perspective of that is that business ready to be disrupted, right? So, but being in that state of embracing digital transformation, again, as mentioned, is a good defense against disruption.
Now, like what Danie mentioned earlier, the pandemic somehow highlighted the need for digital transformation. But what barriers did it also present, and what's the best way to overcome those hindrances?
So again, as mentioned, it's mindset, it's willingness to change. It's not just to change once, but to be in this constant process of change. And I'd like to also share one of my favorite quotes from Jack Welch. Change before you have to. Right. So that's one barrier. We mentioned culture. That's important. The other one is technology and skill sets. right? So we are in a war for talent. Some IT companies are even sharing that attrition could be as high as, for some IT companies, it's as high as 30%.
Yes.
Imagine some teams changing within 3 years, totally. So it's important for organizations to pick partners they can trust, partners that invest in people, and partners that are there for the long term.
All right. Now, sir, last year in the Digicon, you had unveiled that you were going to be investing not just in, hyper centers, but big ones
Yes.
that are much more massive than we could ever imagine.
Yes.
What's the update on that? And what's the rationale with regard to, your mission of digitalizing or digitalization for small and medium-sized enterprises?
Yes, and it's still connected to digital transformation, right? So the pandemic drove the need to move to cloud. We transformed overnight. Thank God the cloud was there. We were able to work from home, study from home, be hybrid. It became a matter of businesses either just continuing operations or shutting down. So the explosion of cloud then demands the explosion for data, and the arteries for data go through these so-called data centers. Essentially, any digital transaction that happens today goes through a data center, and it's an area that we're proud to have built practices over the last 20 years. We have 10 data centers already. We broke ground on our 11th one earlier this year. It will be bigger than the first 10 combined in terms of output. That just shows the scale of what we're preparing for, and we're on track for it to go live by December of next year. So stay tuned for our Vitro Santa Rosa.
Okay, if last year's convention was all about data centers, this year, with the theme Boundless, what should be expecting for the digital convention?
Yes. So Boundless really is, well, first, it's going to be, I'm going to be a little bit nostalgic. We're going to hit almost 10 years already for Digicon. It started off as a physical event.
Yes.
Obviously, the last 2 years we had to go hybrid. We had to go virtual. This year, we're going to go hybrid. And it's important that we continue, and we're proud that we've been able to establish a marquee event that businesses and a lot of organizations look forward to, right? We're expecting about 1,000 business leaders at the Marriott this year. And it's not just about a rundown of technology, which is always important, but I think it's important to also enlighten people with best practices, with knowledge sharing from both business and technology leaders alike. Right, it's nurturing them with our participants of both practical and bold journeys that people have gone through, to be able to again digitally transform. And our theme this year is very apt, Boundless. Right, it just shows the limitless potential of organizations if they're able to transform. We're just barely at the cusp of more big things that could happen. And the other side, it's also a mindset, right? So having that thirst, that knowledge, to execute without bounds, to have that boundless energy, boundless enthusiasm to really embrace digital and transform for the better. And if I may also tease, one technological manifestation of boundless is the metaverse, a topic that's been talked about so often. I think people can't have enough of it because the concept is still so big.
Right.
But I think we'll need more time to talk about it. But I'd like to tease it's a big topic area that will be discussed during Digicon. It's something that we believe will really impact many forms of everyone, consumers, businesses alike. Similar to say how the internet transformed everything. So we believe that the metaverse will be something very similar, and stay tuned because a lot of that will be discussed and shared at our digital convention.
Exactly. So if you want to know more about whether the hype is real on the metaverse and why exactly, that's very interesting. Now, Jojo, invite our viewers here. How can they register? And this Digicon, like you mentioned, has been a journey from, we were there. I was there at the Marriott with robots beside me.
Right.
And then off to a studio with a green screen. And then now it's going to be in hybrid format. Yes. What type of participation can people do? Can they participate hybrid, from remotely? And can they also come physically?
Yeah, sure. It's essentially the combination of what we did pre and then what we did during the pandemic. It's going to be hybrid. So we're expecting 1,000 business leaders at the Marriott. But for folks that will join virtually, it's free.
Okay.
So all of the information is available at our website, including information on the event, how to register, phdigicon2022.com. October 27 to 28. So we promise it'll be a fun and enlightening event for a lot of people.
All right, excellent. So you can go there physically if you can't make it, and from wherever location you are in the Philippines or in the world, you can also join virtually. It's
That's
a great,
right.
possibility there. Thank you so much, Jojo Gendrano, SVP and Head of PLDT and Smart Enterprise Business Group.
Thank you, Jojo.
Thanks very much.
And those are the biggest stories on the economic and corporate front today. I'm Jess Delos Santos.
And I'm Danie Laurel. We are One News, all sides, all the time. But don't go away. We'll give you the latest on the local bourse when Business World Live returns. Stay with us.
And you're still watching Business World Live here on One News. Dan, what a painful day yesterday. 2-year low for the index. Are we closing in on that bear market territory?
Just more painful pa today. And you can see here how we are broken, officially broken below 6,000 levels. It was actually a psychological support level. Earlier this morning, we were still bouncing back above, and now we've seen the pain. And like you mentioned, what is bear market is if you're 20% lower from the highs of this year. And the high, if you imagine February, we were at 7,500 and we've touched 20% down already. So indeed, we are going towards that, if not already there. Now let's take a look at the year-to-date, Jess. We're down by 15.5% from the start of January, with only 5 companies that are still left in positive territory. But take a look at the biggest losers. Mega World down 34%, Ayala Land down 34%, 35 or 34%. So really such pain here. And just like you mentioned, everything is regarding the weak peso, and you can see that weakening even further dangerously now, closing in on 60 to the greenback. Right now it's trading at 58.996 to the dollar. And if you can look at the year to date, we are also depreciated 13.6% year to date, and that's bringing overseas investors to withdraw about $200 million on equities just yesterday, Jess. And just a quick check on Ayala Corp. Today, as we did have the news, it's official, Bong Consing will be taking the helm of Ayala Corporation. He was, of course, the former BPI president, and he was already the acting president. He will be replacing the term of Fernando Zobel, who quit the post earlier this year to focus on his health. Ayala Corporation, however, also declining this morning, down by 1 9/10%, Jess.
Okay, let's see if you have to brace for more pain ahead today. That's it for us, September 28, 2022. Join us again tomorrow at exactly 9:30 a.m. You can also catch us on Signal Play. Register for your free account now at www.signalplay.com and stream One News Live anytime, anywhere. I'm Jess De Los Santos.
And I'm Danie, Laurel. Stay safe, Philippines. We are One News, all sides, all the time.